project idea, because we actually took a trip to Bali, and we looked into how Buddhism played into our time in Bali, and how like the different things we learned throughout class and the concepts came up in the different things we did. So we chose 7 roles of things we came across in Bali rather than doing 7 pages.
Good.
So basically, we made kind of a video slash slideshow of pictures that we took throughout our trip. So we'll talk about them as we
No sound?
What?
Is there sound?
Yeah,
There's like
a little bit.
music
Not
in the
much right
background.
now.
Yeah.
Mm. Ooh.
Okay, so the first role was friends. We couldn't have made it home to make this video without each other. Friendship was everything in this trip. We were in a new country. We'd never been to Asia before. There was like a little bit of a language barrier, a lot of it of a language barrier, actually. And we need to stick together. So friendship was essential in this trip. But we thought a lot about the 10 wholesome deeds because while we did a lot of joking, there was a lot of time where sarcasm or joking wouldn't have fit well. So the 4 pertaining to the mouth, refrain from lying, refrain from double tongue speech, harsh speech, and loose speech. We needed to just be honest and true with each other, especially with the language barrier. When we had our tourists, they didn't understand our jokes. You know, if any sayings or anything like that. So we just had to use truthful statements.
You can turn it. Oh, can't get any louder than that.
Yeah, I just didn't want to
Oh, you didn't want to. Okay.
overpower our talking. So the next thing was locals. We learned a lot from the locals on our experience, and our tour guide, there's a picture of him a little bit. We learned a lot about like respecting the way that they do things in their country, and kind of a lot about karma as well. And I like the quote that he said, lecturer said in class one day: "As you plant, so as you harvest." Kind of is the overall theme of everything we were doing. The 10 wholesome deeds, as Amy said, came up a lot, especially when we're around shopping. Like, you don't want to be stealing or people will steal your stuff in return. We had to obviously refrain from loose speech. Everything you do there is mostly in your hands. You control everything that you do when you go to these places, and you create your own karma while you're there. The other things that we saw, I think is the next picture, that they put out offerings to the gods, and it's kind of, you see them all over the place. It's just kind of this understanding of their life and their local, everything that they do. It's just a matter of, this is what I was talking about, being open-minded and willing to try and learn new things. Same thing, kind of touched upon the idea of epistemology and learning what we know from the books. And these things were all over the place, like every 10 feet was like some of them had like crackers in them, some had like cigarettes, just like everything that they want to offer.
You should be careful not to step on them. So the next role we decided to annotate was artists. Artists was really interesting because we had a tour guide that would take us to, families' houses that they would specialize in jewelry, silver making, or they would specialize in paintings. So what we thought of here was epistemology a little bit, how they knew what to do. They were kind of taught generation after generation to pick up this craft, and that's all they did. That was their life. Another thing, when we were talking to a lot of them, they had never left Bali. They, you know, they would hear of other places in the world, but they knew their world, and that was kind of it. Also, what was interesting, I thought about ahimsa a little bit, like not harming. They kind of just use nature to produce something beautiful, but they wouldn't harm the earth in doing so.
The artwork that we saw somewhere was really pretty.
Yeah.
And they taught us all about like how they paint and different styles of painting that they do. And this was like art, kind of a little palace thing that we went to. It was pretty pretty. And those were some of the wood carvings that they did. These are like some of the videos that we took when we were walking. Next is travelers. And a lot of, obviously, we were travelers, so we wanted to look at how Buddhism came into play with that. We had to, as a traveler, you kind of have to refrain from the 10 unwholesome deeds. Like, you don't want to be stupid, you don't want to be greedy, you don't want to lie to anybody. You want to make sure that you choose a good path along the way, because you don't want to get yourself into trouble, especially in a place like Bali. And then friends kind of came into travelers as well, like as good wise advisors. And our tour guide, his name was Agum, and we didn't really realize how helpful he was until he was gone. We tried to get him to help us out the next day, and we couldn't find him, and we were kind of a little lost without him. And we also just kind of looked at how much we practiced the precepts to have a better path for our travel. And also, in being a traveler, we're thinking about how it's smart to take like the middle way, as we discussed in class, which is kind of as to be like, I saw, we wrote down in class somewhere, like being a piece of wood floating down the current, not picked up by anybody, not interrupted or caught in the whirlpool, and like, but you don't sit there and rot either, and eventually you'll spit out into the ocean. I think it's just kind of that, like you gain wisdom through that, and when you're traveling, you don't really disrupt anybody along your way.
So our next role was lovers. Bali is a very popular destination for honeymoons or even destination weddings. On our flight, there was like a bride with her bridesmaids, and she had, you know, the sashes on. She was going to Bali for her destination wedding. We thought about the 10 wholesome deeds again. You know, do not refrain from greed and hatred and deviant views. So you kind of have to, you know, stick together, not expect too much from your partner. Don't, you know, stray down another path of viewpoints after you're married, so that, you know, that could cause some problems. That was where Buddhism fit into lovers.
And that wedding picture before we actually took on the beach was really pretty.
Yeah.
Just like a little honeymoon couple. So this like random little beach somewhere that we found. The next topic is the next role that we chose was meditators. Because we actually practiced meditation a lot while we were in Bali. It was very helpful because traveling can be really stressful, especially in Bali, because you kind of have to keep yourself very aware of your surroundings at all times. And we found it as a really nice way to kind of calm ourselves down. We were meditating on like beaches and some of the temples, even like at our hotel, and it was really loud and busy all around. And I personally found for the first time that I was able to really actually get something out of meditation. I guess maybe because I wasn't sitting in a classroom, or maybe it was a different setting or something like that. But we got like the people that we went with to actually try it out, and they said they really liked it as well. And it allowed for a clearer mindset for like throughout the rest of our trip. And like the eighth consciousness, we noticed that karma comes into play. Like if you like, as we talked about, if you lie and you steal and you do these bad things, then you'll have like a clouded mind. And I found that since we were kind of practicing all of these good things throughout our trip, that it was easier when we sat down and meditated because everything was like pretty at peace. We were just kind of going with the flow of everything. So, and I was practicing the watching your thoughts rising and falling. I forget what we called it, but I found that was pretty helpful. This was an elephant. This is an elephant.
Okay, so our last role is seekers. In the sense that we were explorers when we were there. We just wanted to have an open mind and pure thoughts and just see everything that we could. So something that was a volcano called on Lake Batur. We thought a lot about the 5 precepts when we were seeking out things. You know, cherishing life and kindness, possessions, relationships, each other, obviously, integrity and trust, and sobriety and mindfulness. So we had to kind of be mindful of all these different things while we were exploring. We didn't want to disturb the peace of the land. We were just visitors, and obviously we wanted to get a lot out of it, but we didn't want to leave too much disturbance. So
Overall, it was a really good trip. Definitely learned a lot. It's a completely different world. So
it just goes to show how kind of like Buddhist concepts can really relate to anything, not just, you don't have to be such a religious person to understand and, carry out the concepts. So that was really cool.